evening and welcome to Biz First Review 360. We're coming to you from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Joining us in our studios this evening is Dr. Dunusinghe, Senior Lecturer of Economics from the University of Colombo. A very good evening, Doctor, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
So, the grave question that we have here today is, with this political crisis that has come about in this country, now it's been about 2 weeks since the 26th of November that this political crisis in the country began. First things first, how far has it affected the economy within this 14-day time span?
Certainly we have certain implications that we have seen due to the political crisis, and some of the things already appeared in reflected in numbers, while other things we could only observe and make some judgment with the qualitative dimension. For example, what we see, the rupee keep depreciating, and the stock market, even though we saw that sudden rise due to increasing activities of the retailers in the local retailers, we saw that outflow of foreign funds. And with respect to other areas, we are yet to emerge in the impact in terms of numbers. However, we can clearly see that economy to a certain extent has slow down. The economic activities slow down due to this political crisis. Some of the investment project, we don't see much dynamic around those investment project, and some of the development project at the initial stage, mainly the government officials are hanging around what to do, and they wait.
They're afraid to act on the orders that are issued.
Yes, and also with respect to investors' decisions as well. They also keep waiting, and they don't take steps to invest. So this political crisis happened at a time that economy has faced a severe crisis actually. Economy actually...
So we were already on the downfall.
Yes, downfall, and economy actually faced several issues. At the same time, we were hit with this political crisis, so that certainly economy got the worst impact due to this political crisis, I think.
Now, Parliament is due to convene on the 14th of this month. Do you believe that come the 14th, this political crisis will come to an end and the economy will pick up from where it stopped on the 26th of last month?
I think, again, depending on the political outcome of the 14th, many things will be determined, and we have to keep that in mind given certain concerns expressed by the international organization as well as the other countries, and some key personalities. I am sure that depending on the outcome, there will be certain concerns, or certain the outcomes will be determined by the party
who comes on top at the end of the 14th.
Who will win the confidence of the parliament. And for example, say that if this the newly elected government continue to hold the power, I am sure that there could be many concerns among the international donors, international organization and other parties, and because of that sometime Sri Lanka may Sri Lanka will have a very difficult time. And at the same time, even the the previous government come into power with with the parliamentary majority as they predict, still the domestic political the scenario is not in favor of them. What I mean by that is we know that the outcome of the previous local government election, so that domestically the previous government does not enjoy
much favor
from the local.
So you're saying that there is a disparity
people.
between the will of the people and the representation that they have in parliament.
Yes. So in that sense, what you could see, this government or the newly elected government faced certain issues with the international community, while the previous government faced certain issues with the local community. So in that sense, whatever the government that come into power, certainly next 2 to 3 years will be really difficult period for Sri Lanka in terms of economic development. And my prediction is that we will have we will face certainly we will face some economic difficulties. Already central bank governor hint for a debt crisis. It is certain. We could see
because there are certain bonds that are maturing in January that we've obtained.
Yes. And at the same time we have to keep that in mind, some of the concession extended by the newly elected government.
That was actually my next question. Okay. How far are they? Are they sustainable?
No, that is what I wanted to say, that those are not sustainable measures. Why I say so is that some of the measures such as reducing taxes and reducing tariff,
telecommunication levies,
fuel will have a greater impact on the government revenue side. Actually, we cannot continue with borrowing or borrowed money. So in that sense, government should not compromise the revenue targets with by giving short-term various benefits. I think short-term various concessions, or we can say handouts. So we need to and there are certain rationality in imposing certain taxes. Government has certainly forgot such why certain tax concessions are given.
But the rationale put forward by this government, what they are saying is they are going to reduce the number of ministries and reduce government expenditure in turn for the concessions that they're giving out to the general public. Is this possible?
No, this is I don't think it is possible. I think this is the same. This was the same argument put forward by the previous government
when they were coming into power.
Yes, I certainly remember when I asked one time from then Honorable Minister Ravi Karunanayake,
when he was the Minister of Finance.
Yes, when he was in the opposition, opposition parliamentarian, he maintained that we will stop corruptions, bribe and all these things. So with that we can save this much of money. We can certainly provide. We could certainly provide. Various concessions and other benefits to people by reducing corruption and bribes. But what happened? Did we see reduction in corruptions and bribes? So similarly, even though the newly elected government argue that they could reduce the number of ministers and cut down other privileges, and with that money, the money that they could save will channel to to give benefits to people. I don't believe this could be a this could do in the real world.
So, Doctor, I think our discussion has come to a very important point, but unfortunately we will have to cross over for a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Biz First Review 360. Welcome back. You're watching Biz First Review 360. If you're joining us just now, we're in discussion with Dr. Dunasinghe, Senior Professor of Economics at the University of Colombo. Doctor, getting back to our conversation, let's speak a little bit about the reduction in fuel prices. Now, the fuel pricing formula was done away with by the new government that came into place. How far is this practical? Is this a step towards the better or worse?
I think if you look at the international oil prices, oil price actually from the first week of October came down by around $10 per barrel. So in that sense, certainly that price reduction in the international market must channel or must
But then we didn't see it channel on the 10th of October when the fuel prices were revised. Fuel prices were further increased.
Yes, I think we can certainly, agree that the government, the time that we buy oil at the international market and the time that we provide the
the oil was bought before.
Yes.
Okay.
Price reduction, it may take some time,
right.
because of the transporting oil and all.
Exactly.
But certainly we must pass the benefit to the consumers. I think in that sense, the recent price reduction, oil price reduction, we must agree. But we have to keep that in mind. If we try to reduce a lot, that could have a bad impact on our external sector, that is balance of payment. This is a situation where a patient having two diseases, such as one diabetic and at the same time cholesterol.
Okay.
Because Sri Lanka has a problem of this rupee depreciation.
Okay.
So if people if the demand for oil increases, that could have a bad impact on the rupee depreciation. That means there is a pressure for rupee to depreciate
even faster.
So in that sense, we must be mindful in when we pass the benefit of oil price reduction to consumers, because we have to do that in such a way that will not create additional demand for oil in the market. So if you create an additional demand for oil, that could have a negative impact on the rupee depreciation.
But however, with the advent of this whole political crisis, the Vehicle Importers Association stated that the number of vehicle sales have gone down drastically during this period.
I can't, I don't see any, any particular channels through which the political crisis, links to the reduction in
sale of vehicles.
Sales of vehicle.
Okay.
But certainly that sometimes the association may wants to give a signal that people don't buy a vehicle expecting newly elected government may reduce the taxes or something like that.
Or so, provide them with more concessions.
Yes, more concessions, so that to sometime to we say that sometime to encourage politician to think in through those lines. Sometime association may wants to convey the message in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also, Dr. Dunasinghe, the newly elected government has promised many concessions. Now we've seen in the past, and now this newly elected government has also promised election very closely. So we've seen governments in the past giving people concessions just before an election, and then after that adding on to the burden of the people, with the errors that gathered up through that time period that they provided them with concessions. Is this a similar situation?
Yes, certainly I am sure that even when you take into account the concession given just after taking the power, I don't see other than the oil price reduction, I don't see other concessions are logical and reasonable. The reason is our economy is not that strong to give such concessions. That we have to maintain. You will the government may try to provide handouts and get the favor and show the people that we could do what the other government couldn't do, but we know the economists, I am sure, understand the situation that we are not in a position to give such concession. As the central bank governor maintained, we are near to the debt crisis, and at the same time growth rate remain around 3.5 to 4%, and our rupee keep depreciating, and there are number of other signs that indicate economy does not work well, and it did not perform well during the last 3.5 years as well. So in that sense, just providing giving people false hope, I think is something that we should not do, that something that the new government should not do, I think.
All right, so we are in conversation with Dr. Dunasinghe, but we will have to cross over to a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Biz First Review 360. We're in conversation with Dr. Dunasinghe, a senior lecturer of economics at the University of Colombo. Doctor, getting back to our conversation, we were talking about the possibility of continuing with these concessions that the government has provided. How long do you think that this government can continue like this?
I am not sure. One thing that I could certainly say is that if government attempts to continue with these and other concessions, that will put the economy again into a crisis situation. Crisis in the sense we have to borrow more in order to fill the budget or the budget gap, or the basically the budget deficit. So in that sense, again, we will have debt burden and associated issues. So what we should do, I think policymaker must seriously think to convey the people the situation that we have faced. I think this is the same message what Dr. Kumarasamy, Indrajit Kumarasamy, central bank governor, wanted to say, pass. The reason is that politicians think about the vote. They try to maximize the vote maximization. So sometimes they take decision without
considering the long-term impact of those decisions.
The long-term repercussions, so the implications. So I think in that context, the newly elected government and the policy makers of that government must seriously consider to what extent they could offer these benefits in the long run. And I think, as I see, they try to fix some of these the issues relating to the cost of living without taking measures to address them in the long run. So short run decisions or the measures will be unsustainable, as I could see right now.
Also, Doctor, a little bit of a shift from the current topic that we're talking, but not too far away. It is about the political crisis. We saw recently ministers from both sides being offered large sums of money. We heard certain phone conversations allegedly made by certain individuals, and the sums of money that were offered in these phone conversations were startling. Some of them were actually much larger than the budgetary allocations for certain sectors such as education, health and other sorts of things. So this is of course the people's money that is being swindled across left and right, both sides. Is there any way that action can be filed against it? Because recently when at a press conference, I believe the government media spokesperson, Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe, has said that offering another person a ministerial portfolio is not a bribe. What do you see this as?
I think if you try to persuade or encourage somebody to cross the other side or change the party by giving whether private money or the public, by giving public resources or private resources, that fall into the category of, I think, bribe. Because private, certainly you own the money, there is a owner. When it comes to public, actually the public
misuse of public funds.
Misuse of public funds, it owned to the people. So the portfolio you cannot auction in outside the market. The reason is when you allocate portfolio, you have to take into account the capacity and the qualification of the person that you appoint for that portfolio. You cannot just provide that particular portfolio, I mean say that Ministry of Finance, you cannot just offer it to anybody just because somebody is willing to cross the party, change the party. So in that sense, there are certain what we call certain limitations, certain agreed rules, agreed traditions with respect to offering certain portfolios for certain ministers. Now what we could see is the violation of such traditions and offer money and various privileges to get the political support. This is something very bad and ugly side of the today's political game, something that Sri Lanka must end, because after independence it seems that we are going back to the and we are going to follow the bad people, some of the bad experiences that we have seen elsewhere. We have seen in Pakistan, how Pakistan, Bangladesh and other countries, how the change of power take place, sometimes through military coups, sometimes through other means, and actually in Sri Lanka it did not happen. But now what we see after say 60 to 70 years later, what we are now seeing is something almost similar. Yeah, we are going back. When the Pakistan and Bangladesh going forward, we are going back.
And just after we came out of a 30-year-long civil war.
Yes, yes. It is something that it worries, I think, the moderate and the moderate
everyday
people.
Sri Lankan.
Yeah. And because we has had a tradition of change of power, and this time we actually experience something very new and something very ugly, and something that we fear that if repeat in future, it really disturbed me.
And there you heard it from Dr. Dunasinghe himself. He's a senior lecturer of economics from the University of Colombo. Dr. Dunasinghe, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Let us take a look at some other business stories from this week that made it to your top stories. According to central bank data, Sri Lanka's agricultural sector saw double-digit growth in the first half of 2018 from a year ago, with increased paddy output. The Agriculture Production Index, which measures the output of agriculture and fishery sectors, grew by 13.3% to 133.8% in the first half of 2018 compared to the previous year. The Paddy Sub-Index increased by 62.5% to 128.2 in the first half due to good weather and higher cultivation. Paddy production was up 62.6% to 2.4 million metric tons in the 2017-18 Maha season compared to the previous season. With this year's Yala season expected to produce 1.4 metric tons, total paddy production is estimated to be enough to meet domestic demand. Rice imports fell by 46% to 241 million kilograms in the first 8 months compared to the previous year due to the sufficient paddy stocks available for milling. Other crop sub-index include field crops and vegetables was up 18.9% to 163.8 in the first half. Sugar production was up 56% to 22,859 metric tons in the first half of 2018, mainly because of increased production at the Sevanagala factory. Rubber production dropped by 12.8%, 39.3 million kilograms in the first half of 2018 compared to previous year due to continuous rain in the wet zones. Coconut production dropped 5.3% to 1.2 million nuts in the first half because of delayed effects of drought conditions seen in early 2017. The Monetary Board of Sri Lanka's Central Bank has promoted Assistant Governors S.R. Artigala and H.A. Karunaratne as Deputy Governors with effect from the 31st of October 2018. The statement said the appointments were made with the concurrence of the new Minister of Finance, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Artigala, whom Rajapaksa named the new Treasury Secretary from the 31st of October 2018, has over 27 years of service in the Central Bank, while H.A. Karunaratne has over 32 years of experience in the Central Bank, especially in the areas of economic and price stability, financial system stability and other agency functions. According to data of the Tourism Office, tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka in October 2018 grew 0.5% from a year ago to 153,123, led by Indian visitors. Arrivals from India grew 3.2% from 2016 to 38,169 tourists. China, the second largest market, fell 13.6% from a year earlier to 18,882 tourist arrivals. Arrivals from the United Kingdom, the third largest, grew 41.2% from a year earlier to 17,673 tourists. Germany and Australia rounded up the top 5 tourist markets. Up to end October 2018, arrivals had grown 10.6% from a year earlier to 1.89 million tourists. India, China, UK, Germany and Australia were the top 5 markets for the first 10 months as well. A panel discussion moderated by the ICTA chairman, Professor Rohan Samarajiva, was held under the theme 21st Century Skills, How Do We Create a Talent Pool for the Future? The Norwegian ambassador attended the event as the chief guest.
There will be a considerable shift in skills and talent required from the global workforce in the next decades. Jobs of the future will require more critical thinking, advanced skills in science, technology, engineering and maths, creativity, interdisciplinary knowledge, and people skills, amongst others. Building this talent pool for the future has to start now, and it is the responsibility of the government, policy makers, as well as the private sector and individuals.
The business conclave was organized by Macquarie yesterday. The event aims at addressing future challenges in the HR industry.
And there's a huge wave of this technology going to hit us in the next so many years, not too far away. Which will actually make HR people redundant to a great extent. The only way that we can survive and thrive in that disruption is actually to go back. It's a little bit like The Matrix, the film, if you've seen it. It's a little bit to go back to the basics of the human nature and become more human than we've ever been, and being able to actually work closely, becoming, whether it's HR business partner or whether it's to become an employee champion, whatever you want to call it. We have to embrace those roles, because every other role imaginable, which is automatable or outsourceable or whatever you want to call it, will be outsourced, will be automated. So the only true thing that we will be able to succeed on will be the one thing that we all are, that is to be human. And that's where the human in the human resources will become important again.
And that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. This is Biz First Review 360. Take care and God bless.